You probably already know that the United States used to be a colony controlled by England, but have you ever wondered, did Americans used to have English accents? And if so, when did the American accent come along? Let's find out on today's episode of
Colossal Questions.
Even though there's tons of region-specific accents like Brooklynese in the US and Cockney in England, most people think of two specific accents for Americans and the English. The typical English accent is called BBC pronunciation or BBC English, and the accent that most Americans think of as having no accent is called the General American or newscaster accent. Okay, so now that we've got that down, let's get right to it. When English settlers first colonized Jamestown, Virginia in the early 1600s, they all had English accents because, well, they were from England. Seems pretty simple, right? Well, not quite. You see, they weren't speaking with that BBC English accent that we recognize today. So what did their accent sound like in the early 1600s? Well, we don't know for sure since there was no way to record anyone's voice back then. But we do know the difference was in how they pronounced their R's. In those days, English people spoke with a hard R sound, meaning they pronounced the R in words like Americans do today. So, for example, it would sound more like park the car instead of park the car. It wasn't until the early 1800s that using the soft R's became fashionable among England's upper class. Over the next century, the posh, classy accent became the standard across the country. The upper class in US cities that still had close ties to England, like Savannah, Richmond, and Boston, started using this cool new English accent too. But it wasn't long before Americans would have an accent all their own. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, power and influence began shifting to parts of the US that were more populated by people of Scottish and Irish descent who spoke with accents that have hard R's. As this new generation of self-made elites came to power across the US, the fancy English accent slowly went away and the general American accent spread across the country. So, did Americans ever speak with an English accent? Yup, but it probably sounded more like an American accent than you'd think. And now you know that Americans did speak with an English accent. Kinda. Comment below if you have a question you'd like to know the answer to. And don't forget to subscribe for more episodes of
Colossal Questions.
Only on DreamWorks TV.